Jesus freak here. As you probably know, I almost never use any Bible version, English Bible version on my channel other than the King James. This isn't a matter of preference, and it's not a matter of dogma or anything else. I'm going to play a few clips where I read different translations of the Genesis 3:16 and come back and explain the situation here. To the woman he said, I will greatly multiply your pain in childbearing. In pain you shall bring forth children. Yet your desire shall be for your husband, and he shall rule over you. To the woman he said, I will make your pains in childbearing very severe. With painful labor you will give birth to children. Your desire will be for your husband, and he will rule over you. And to the woman he said, I will make most severe your pangs in childbearing. In pain shall you bear children, yet your urge shall be for your husband, and he shall rule over you. To the woman he said, I will greatly multiply your sorrow and your conception. In pain you shall bring forth children. Your desire shall be for your husband, and he shall rule over you. Unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. In sorrow thou shalt bring forth children, and thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. Okay, here's the situation. A fellow YouTuber I follow, mainly through his streams on Twitch, walked into a controversy and didn't even realize existed. And I had to try to explain sort of what he walked into. I'm going to read the current ESV text to Genesis 3:16 from across the room here. I'm looking at my computer from the other side of my room, so, and I can only kind of sort of read it, so, here we go. To the woman he said, I will surely multiply your pain in childbearing. In pain you shall bring forth children. Your desire shall be contrary to your husband, but he shall rule over you. This has only been the ESV reading since 2016. I actually have right here, it's a little beat up. It's an older ESV. I've shown it on the channel before. It uses a text from 2013. And let me read you what this ESV says. To the woman he said, I will surely multiply your pain in childbearing. In pain you shall bring forth children. Your desire shall be for your husband, and he shall rule over you. This ESV agrees with every single one of the other translations I just read. And they changed it a few years later. And I'm not just talking, it agrees with every other Christian translation. As you've seen, this is one of the translations I read from. This is a Jewish Bible. So the translators of the ESV decided to go completely against the grain and translate a verse in a way no one had ever translated it before. Now, what happened here was this YouTuber was watching a video in order to comment. And he hit a point where the guy in the video, I can't remember who it was, he was reading Genesis 3:16, and Genesis 3:16 appeared on the screen in a chyron, similar to what I did in the video, similar to what I do in my own videos on Sunday mornings. Now, he noted that what was on the screen and what the guy was saying didn't match. And he called him out over it. And he said, you know, that's not what the scripture says according to your own screen. And I had to point something out that he wasn't aware of. You see, the chyron was the 2016 ESV with its unusual translation of the verse. He was reading an NASB 95, I believe. Might have been a more current NASB. It was certainly an NASB. And the NASB had the usual reading you'd expect. So, in fact, he was trying to make a point against the guy in the video. But it didn't work because he ran into something he didn't realize was there. Until 2016, the ESV read exactly like every other translation by saying, your desire shall be for your husband, and he shall rule over you. Which is a wording it inherited from the RSV. In 2016, they changed it to your desire shall be contrary to your husband, but he shall rule over you. Every other translation up until 2016 has rendered the verse exactly the same way, and they decided they needed to render it some other way. I mean, there's times when this is valid. For example, when the traditional translation is word salad. And reading it another way, you get something that makes more sense. But there's nothing wrong with the original reading. It's not like that one verse in Deuteronomy that sounds a bit scrambled in most translations. And verse of those youth. Pretty well known. The eternal God is resting place beneath the everlasting arms, or something like that. And in context, it sounds like gibberish. And the NRSB actually came up with something that worked in context by changing a letter here and there. That's a little bit different than what we have here. Here we have it. It's Deuteronomy 33:27. The eternal God is thy refuge, and underneath of the everlasting arms, and he shall thrust out the enemy from before thee, and shall say, destroy them. And with a couple letters flipped, you get something like, he subdues the ancient unto gods, shatters the forces of old, which makes more sense with the rest of the verse. I mean, I can understand a change like that. But this sounds kind of like a tail wagging the dog thing, Come to the translation with a belief, and then twist the translation to fit your belief, kind of like the Jehovah's Witnesses do. Anyway, Jesus freak out.